Hi everyone, Chris Natsky here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your special Friday edition of your Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week on Facebook Live. Today I want to talk about the power of questions. You know, I've often heard it said that the quality of our life is in direct proportion to the quality of questions we ask ourselves. Just think about that for a moment. What's going on in our mind when we're dealing with challenges? What are the questions we begin asking ourselves? In fact, if you ask any leader, anybody that's really, whether in their life or in their business, is really looking to do big things, they will almost inevitably tell you that they never got to the final destination in the exact way they thought it was going to happen. There were always going to be bumps along the road. Things are going to move in ways that they weren't aware of, and they dealt with challenges. They dealt with adversity. And at that time, they had to ask themselves really good questions, empowering questions, in order to get through that difficulty. Now, generally speaking, I think as humans, when things are not going well for us, we default many times to the question of, oh, why is this happening to me? Hey, Paul Acklin, thanks for joining me, buddy. So we default to this question, why is this happening to me? And this is almost never an empowering question. It generally is rooted in us feeling victims to our circumstances. But what leaders understand is that when we are dealt with difficulties, there are empowering ways that we can ask questions inside of ourselves as well as the people that we're leading to get to where we want to go. So what I want to share with you are 5 what I consider to be very empowering questions the next time you're dealing with a challenge. And the first one is, what's really happening here? Now, I have an emphasis on that word really, because many times when we have challenges that occur to us, it's easy for us to get caught into the emotion where something's going wrong. A customer didn't follow up on something they said they were going to. Someone within the workforce didn't follow up on something they said they were going to complete. Or maybe one of your bosses is asking you to do something that you think is out of line and outside of an easy timetable get completed. And what happens is we get into the emotion of it. And when we're in the emotion of it, it basically clouds the way we look at how we're going to deal with that problem. Now, that doesn't mean that when upset comes, when we're angry, when we're upset, that we don't feel that. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is it's important not to get stuck there, because what it does is it clouds our ability to make good decisions. So I had a teacher tell me one time that when things are going wrong, anytime we have a challenge, is that we have an option. We can deal on what's happening or the story or the meaning that we're putting to it. And so I guess my challenge for all of us is, where are you when you're dealing with challenges? Are you able to disseminate between the story that you're putting around it and what's really happening? So if there's a challenge in front of you, there are things that happen in a certain step, A, B, C, and then there are the meaning that you put behind it, the upset you put behind it. When you can extract that and look at what's really happening, now you can get good answers on how to deal with the problem. And just as a little aside here, one of the things I'm going to be sharing with you at the end of this video is I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing a pre-launch of my program called Mind of a Champion home study course. It's 8 weeks to creating a life of power, passion, and purpose. And we're going to be dealing with a lot of these questions. So stay tuned for that at the end of this video. Number 2 is what wants to happen here. This past weekend, I was at a conference with my good friend Bob Tipton, and he gave a talk specifically on this question, what wants to happen here? And it really got me thinking. When I'm dealing with adversity, many times I'm so focused on what I want to accomplish that I just keep bullying ahead, and I don't take time to step back and say, what really wants to naturally evolve here? Is there a different way that I need to be approaching this problem? And it doesn't mean that we discard where we want to go, the goals that we want to achieve, but is there a different way of getting there? And if we get out of our own way, if we have our ego go aside and we understand what's wanting to happen, what's wanting to flow, it might give us a whole different perspective. Number 3 is, what's working and what do we need to keep doing? You know, invariably when we come across challenges and we're working toward an objective, there are things that we're doing right. And I think it's really important for us to evaluate inside ourselves as well as in our teams, what are the things that are working? Because when you're able to focus on that, it acts as a real solid foundation to build off of. You don't need to throw everything out. There are definitely things that you're doing well. So what are those things? And what do we need to keep doing? Number next is, what do we need to stop doing? I mean, many times we are in automatic pilot when we're working on projects, when we're working toward a goal, and we just keep doing those things because we've always done them that way before. Am I right? I mean, think about that. And what we want to do in this question is we want to observe, what do we need to stop doing because it no longer works? I'm not going to tell the story here, but I think most of us know the story of cutting off the ends of the ham, right? And so the question is, are you cutting off the end of the ham because your pan is too small or because you've always been doing it that way before? And many times this takes courage because we get in this groove of the same patterns we've always done. But what true leaders do is they're able to step back and make a conscious decision on what they're going to stop doing. And then finally is, what do we need to start doing? What do you need to start doing? What are some actions? What are some values that you can bring into the conversation that you can begin doing something in maybe a different and unique way? I think when we look at challenges, sometimes when we're in them, they're so difficult. But when you look at them afterwards, you go, wow, that was a time in my life that I really grew. That's where I really expanded. And so when you think of it that way, it might just be a great opportunity to bring in a new behavior into your life, into your work. You know, I've shared this concept a couple of times before. It was inspired by a guy named James Clear who wrote the book Atomic Habits. But I think that when we are in the midst of needing to add new activities and we're in challenge, we think it takes massive action. And sometimes it's necessary. But what I found, it's not necessarily the massive action, but it's the smaller, consistent action done over time that yields the great results. And what Clear talks about is this idea of great habits don't add up, they compound. So think about this for a moment. If we did a 1% better job in whatever we're choosing to do daily for over a year, we just did 1% better each and every day, at the end of 1 year, we'd be 37 times better than when we started. Now, if you take that activity, you take that practice, and you extrapolate it over 2 years, you don't double it to 74 times better, it goes to 1,400 times better. How about that? And if you take that out 5 years, wait for it, it goes to 76 million times better than it was before. So what are the small things that you can add, the 1% incremental increases in performance that you can do each day in order to move through this challenge? Now, that was 5, and that's what I promised you, but I have one more that I think is vitally important, and it's this. How do you need to be when you're dealing with the challenge? What is the attitude that you need to bring to it? It's really easy when we have challenge to get into blame, into overwhelm, into worry, and all those negative emotions because we think that's what will fuel us. But what great leaders understand is there could be nothing further from the truth. Great leaders understand that they need to look at things objectively and then put in a positive way of being. Creative, conscious, collaborative, all those positive attributes in order to get us through the hardest of times. So there you have it, my friends. There are my 5 questions that great leaders ask when they're dealing with adversity, plus one more bonus one there. And as we end here, I told you that I have a special announcement here. For the last year, I've been working on a program I'm incredibly proud of. It's called the Mind of a Champion home study course. And what I've done is I've taken the elements of my book, Black Belt Leadership, and I put them into a home study course where each week you get to look and take an in-depth view and an exploration of one of those qualities. And since you're such loyal viewers and I love everyone and the feedback you give me, I'm doing kind of a pre-launch of this. And so the way that it works, if you click the link below, and you order it within the next 2 weeks, you can receive 50% off simply by using the code MOC-intro. So get 50% off this program, and for the first 10 people that enroll in this, you'll get also a complimentary signed copy of Black Belt Leadership. So anyway, my friends, thank you so much for listening today. It's always my joy to be able to bring my message of the week to you. And if you've found value in this, please comment, please like, and particularly please share it if you know there's someone out there that could gain value from it. So that's what it is for today. What are the questions you're asking when you're in the greatest challenge in your life? And we will see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.